is Adam Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology. Today we're going to take a look at all of the major astrological transits for the week ahead. That is June 9th through the 15th. This is a major week astrologically. This is one of the weeks that I circled on my calendar when looking at the year ahead back at the end of 2024 because of the entrance of Jupiter into Cancer, but also several other major aspects taking place. And then a busy week with other kind of more minor aspects all at the same time, a full moon. This truly is one of the busier weeks of 2025 on an astrological level. So we're going to break all of that down for you today. I'm also going to be doing some horoscopes for the cardinal signs today, given Jupiter's entrance into Cancer, which is taking place today. I'm going to give you little horoscopes for those angular houses that are getting activated. If you're listening for sun or rising in one of the cardinal signs, you'll be getting that in a very dynamic house. So look at that today. We'll have some more horoscopes as the week goes on. We'll break everything down for you today in terms of what you can expect for the content this week as well. All right, so that is our agenda for today. Before we get into it, as always, remember to like and subscribe. It really helps our channel to grow when you take a moment to subscribe. If you watch regularly and you aren't yet, or give us the thumbs up today, really appreciate that. You can find transcripts of any of these daily talks on my website, which is nightlightastrology.com. When you are over there, we have some things happening this week and coming up. On the 21st, we have a solstice gathering at the Grapevine Collective in Minneapolis. If you are in the Twin Cities area in Minnesota, please feel free to join us for an evening meditation on the solstice. Just RSVP so we know you're coming. It's free to attend, facilitated by your generosity through the annual Kickstarter campaign. Go to the speaker series. You'll see that we have one talk left in our speaker series on June 15th. Krista Hamilton is giving a talk on the decans. This is free to attend. Just register. Also facilitated by your generosity through the Kickstarter campaign. If you can't attend live, you get the recording of that talk. That's coming up this weekend as well. Can't wait to have Krista out to talk about the decans. Really interesting topic. Go to events page, click on live talks, and you will see my next talk is coming up on June 19th. Uranus and Gemini trine Pluto in Aquarius. I hope that you can make this one. This is a really exciting topic for astrologers right now. This historic trine between Uranus and Gemini and Pluto in Aquarius. Very airy. I've titled the talk When New Objects Appear in the Sky. When you register for that, if you can't attend live, you get the recording, the replay link later. So those are some talks coming up at Nightlight. If you go to the courses page, click on first year course. Our first year course, Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic, a one-year program in ancient Hellenistic astrology. That begins June 22nd. So you've got just about another week and a half, 2 weeks to go before that program starts. It's not too late to register. At the end of today's talk, there's a 12-minute informational video that tells you all about the program, what it includes, how it works. It's a really awesome program. It really represents the heart of my work as an astrologer. At the bottom, you'll find enrollment options, and be sure to check out the need-based tuition option if you're someone who wants to take the class, but you need a little help to make it happen. We understand that people are in different financial situations. So if that helps you to pick within a sliding scale your monthly tuition so that it reflects your budget, your life situation, please do take advantage of that. Just a few more weeks left to register for that program. Can't wait for a new group of students. We've got a great election for that program in Uranus moving into the sign of Hermes. This is an ancient Hermetic art. So, you know, Uranus in Gemini is a great signature to study under alongside of Pluto in Aquarius. Anyhow, those are our promotions for the day. Let us turn our attention now to the real-time clock, where we are going to be breaking down the transits for the week ahead. I'm going to run through them one at a time, and then we'll take some time with each of them. So the week begins today with a lot of activity all at once, Monday, June 9th. Today, and we're going to we'll come back to all of this, we have Mercury squaring Saturn, and by the end of the day, Mercury squaring Neptune. They're very close together in Aries, so Mercury is making squares to both of these planets today. So Mercury square Saturn, Mercury square Neptune to start our week. It's a big day for Mercury. Of course, on this day as well, we also have Jupiter entering the sign of Cancer. Now, from my standpoint, I'm just doing this very roughly. It's later this afternoon, Central Time, that Jupiter will enter the sign of Cancer. And that, of course, we spent a lot of time talking about last week. I'll also give you some thoughts about that one today and some horoscopes for the cardinal signs at the end. Venus is also squaring Pluto today. So it's a very busy day to start the week. Venus is square to Pluto, Taurus to Aquarius. That comes through today as well. Major start to the week, right? Those 4 transits to start the week are not light. And then we move into the middle of the week. On the 11th, Wednesday, we have a full moon in the sign of Sagittarius. Now, if I roll this moon back to the exact moment of the full moon, it actually takes place early morning. So on the 11th, which means you'll probably be feeling the full moon Tuesday night into Wednesday morning in the United States. But again, this is the 11th into, or the 10th into the 11th, that you really start feeling that full moon coming through. So we're going to be breaking down the full moon this week for sure. And then we will be looking also alongside of the full moon. Mercury has a little sextile right here to Venus that is taking place June 11th. So alongside of the full moon, we've got a Mercury-Venus sextile. Nice little harmonious sextile between Mercury and Venus. I like that. I also like the fact that the full moon is ruled by an exalted Jupiter. Feels like a pretty auspicious full moon, or at least a buoyant one with the energy of Jupiter. Now, at the end of the week, we also have 2 major aspects taking place on Sunday. So we'll get into these aspects as the week goes on. To close out the week, we'll be looking at these 2 aspects in Mars squaring Uranus on June 15th, that's Sunday, and then Jupiter squaring Saturn on the same day. Major aspects, right? Just anytime you get oppositions, squares, or conjunctions between Mars and Uranus, they tend to be very lit up, like very active dynamic transits. And then, of course, we have a historic Jupiter-Saturn square. Next week, we're getting Jupiter moving into the square with Neptune. So those outer planetary configurations are all upon us now. This month of June, astrologers have been talking about all year as a very busy month because of the ingress of Jupiter into Cancer, the immediate squares to Saturn and Neptune, and some of these other dynamic transits taking place at the same time. What to speak of all of the things that are happening today to start the week, right? The end of the week is packed as well. So that's where we're standing here at the start of this week. These are the major transits that are in front of us. What I want to do now is back up and talk about each one of these transits in a little bit more depth with a little bit more care. I'm also going to tell you what's on my altar this week before we end today and give you some horoscopes for the cardinal signs. Let's start with Mercury squaring Saturn. The fact that Mercury is squaring Saturn and Neptune today ought to bring our minds into contact with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. What I mean by that is that Saturn and Neptune are so close together, they are close enough to be thought of as conjoined. The effect of these planets when they're within 3 degrees is very powerful. And in some ways, the exact conjunction will, really intensify things the early part of 2026. But right now we're operating in a Neptune-Saturn conjunction range. Because of that, whenever another planet comes into contact with them, especially through squares, oppositions, or conjunctions, that other planet can convey something of the nature of the connection between the two. Especially with Saturn and Neptune, the connection between these 2 planets can be rather nebulous. The reason for that is that you have concrete things that can dissolve, Saturn to Neptune, and you also have ineffable or somewhat intangible or subtle things in Neptune that can become more manifest or concrete, but it can flow in either direction. Visible things become invisible, invisible things become visible. Boundaries and barriers become established to define things that were previously nebulous, whereas things that were very tangible and concrete can completely erode and sort of disappear. So the combination of these 2 planets is it makes for a really interesting combination. We just had a Saturn-Neptune panel talk. If you missed it, go back to the live tab on my page. You'll get to hear from 9 different astrologers talking about the combination. But what I'm trying to say is that when Mercury comes into contact with these planets, especially on the level of the mind, speech, communication, Mercury in Cancer, of course, our emotional intelligence, we're coming into a more rational, felt, understandable kind of aspect with two planets that can be, again, in their combination, somewhat nebulous or hard to pin down. So I like that because it may be that this week, especially here at the start of the week, that we're getting a little understanding, a little glimpse, something a little bit more intelligible. We're able to articulate something of the paradoxical union of Saturn and Neptune. I like that for us because, frankly, as an astrologer, these moments are usually the ones where I feel like I'm getting some hints and clues as to the nature of a planetary combination that I've never seen before. None of us really have seen Saturn and Neptune in Aries together before, especially the 0-degree mark of Aries or thereabouts. And so I think also the kinds of things that are appearing to us right now, incentives, new ideas, new thoughts, new feelings, epiphanies, aha moments that have an intellectual and also a real emotional dimension to them are going to be important to pay attention to, because when Mercury contacts these planets at the 0 kind of early stage of Aries there's a sense of wanting to start something, of wanting to initiate something. This thing that we're wanting to initiate may be something nebulous that's slowly trying to take form, and it's appearing within our emotional body, within the communication we have with people that we're close to, that we share deep emotional attachments or bonds to, or bonds with, I should say. It may also be that the early stages of things that are ready to start dissolving are coming through, and the first communication we're having or receiving or understanding about things that are ready to dissolve will make themselves known to us the early part of this week. Or again, maybe things that have been subtle dreams, visions, hopes, aspirations that we're starting to see as tangible possibilities that we can build, that we can create. And especially the way that they might come through the conversations we're having, the feelings that are coming through us right now. So Mercury in Cancer is acting kind of like a transmitter for the Saturn-Neptune dynamic. I would watch for that today for sure. And that's both through its contact with Saturn and Neptune today. Also, the alternation between feeling somewhat emotionally stifled or frustrated or blocked or irritable emotionally and mentally, as well as feeling somewhat dreamy or almost in a kind of otherworldly, inspired, emotional or intuitive state. Those things could blend together in a way that is a little complex. So, safeguard your serenity emotionally, mentally, take care of your nervous system. I'd say something as simple as make sure you're sleeping right and eating enough or drinking enough water. So, just caretaking the sensitivity of the body, mind, emotional matrix while Mercury is contacting these two planets to start the week. The other thing that's happening today is, of course, Jupiter is entering the sign of Cancer. I'm going to do some horoscopes for the cardinal signs before we close today. But that entrance into Cancer, I recommend for more of a fully developed take on that you look back. The horoscopes we did for June, the monthly overview for June, 2 or 3 videos I did last week on Jupiter's entrance into Cancer. That's where you're going to get like a full-bodied take on this that I don't want to just try to regurgitate, in a weekly overview today. But it is like, welcome Jupiter into your exaltation in the sign of Cancer. The emotional bonds that we have in life, home, family, culture, even our connection to our ancestral roots and legacy, there can be a little bit of a, what do I want to call it? Like almost like a clannish kind of feeling to Jupiter in Cancer, where it's my group, my family, and only my group, where almost like an emotional clan-based exclusivity that might be a bit of a shadow to Jupiter in Cancer. So we may want to watch immediately for the affiliations we have to people and groups emotionally becoming more pronounced and exaggerated, and even maybe somewhat extreme. That's a shadow we may have to work with the entire year while Jupiter's in Cancer. But also, how are our emotional bonds to others growing, diversifying, deepening? And what is the most fertile part of our life right now? Jupiter in Cancer is a very fertile placement that likes to proliferate and grow things, and things that serve to help us feel more comfortable at home, safe, and connected to the world around us. The things we nurture will grow in the next year with Jupiter in Cancer. The emotional depth in us, the capacity to be someone who feels, who lets the body speak, and has a kind of emotional, instinctual, bodily wisdom that also leads and lights the way in our life, in addition to, say, the mental, rational, or philosophical parts of ourselves, or the ideological parts of ourselves. I think that's a great promise with Jupiter in Cancer. Your body knows things, just like animals. They're so instinctually aware of things that sometimes we're so stuck in our heads we can't even see. Jupiter in Cancer may provide us with a different felt kind of wisdom that we can welcome into our lives right now, I think. So just a few things there on Jupiter's entrance into Cancer. We're going to be looking at Jupiter into Cancer a lot more this week through an exploration that I'm going to do later in the week on Jupiter's square to Saturn, which is a historic square, but the context of Jupiter in Cancer and Saturn in Aries will be a part of that video as well. Of course, the other thing happening today is Venus's square to Pluto. Major transformational shift for Venus, in particular, when she contacts Pluto, the potential for upheaval, depth, intensity, catharsis, and transformation of anything Venusian: style, beauty, appearance, appetite, pleasure, sex, relationships. The death and rebirth motif for the Venus function or feature of our lives is in the spotlight today for sure. I like to think that Venus, as a very earthy, sensual, embodied sign in Taurus, meeting with Pluto in Aquarius, is also going to be about the bridge between ideas and embodied forms of enjoyment or connection. For example, art that has a message, very Venus in Taurus, Pluto in Aquarius, or when we utilize technology or information or ideas or science to inform the body or health or diet. It's very Pluto in Aquarius meets Venus in Taurus. But watch for Venus to kind of feel the transformational pressure today. You'll really notice it, especially, again, if you're a fixed sign. Last week I went over Venus entering Taurus and what house it's moving into. So for most of the fixed signs, it's nice to have benefic Venus in one of your angular houses, but you do have Pluto in dialogue with it to start the transit there. Could be a little intense this week for the fixed signs, but it moves along pretty quickly. So the beginning of the week is a little dicey, but I think things will smooth out after this start. So moving along to the 11th, Wednesday, we have a full moon in Sagittarius. This full moon in Sagittarius is, of course, hosted by a Jupiter that's just left the opposite sign of Gemini and entered its exaltation in Cancer. To me, the full moon in Sagittarius speaks to the evolving path of meaning, whether that's philosophically or that's in some specific area of life, like the overarching sense of purpose and how it's evolving or unfolding in our marriage or relationships or dating life, or in our art or creativity, or in our careers, or in our personal self-development, in matters of self-care. Like, how is the process of your purpose in life within various areas of your life evolving right now? I think a full moon in Sag invites us, with, again, Jupiter freshly moving out of Gemini and into Cancer, to start building off from what we've learned. The Jupiter in Gemini phase of life is, as we've talked about it on this channel, really does coincide with questioning things, calling things into question, considering multiple perspectives, open-mindedness and flexibility and changeability of mindset as a hallmark of growth. But now Jupiter moving into Cancer with this full moon, to me, suggests I've taken that process and am now building something out of it. I'm taking what I've learned, maybe starting to integrate it. And now I'm using the fertile power of Jupiter in Cancer to build something like a new center of meaning, a new gravitational center of meaning around which other things in my life are going to orbit around. And you may really feel that transition at play this week with a full moon that's bringing a process to a place of culmination as Jupiter's going out of that questioning place and into a place of great fertility. So the questioning that leads to the growth, the seeding, the building, the developing of something. The new information that's come into our lives can now be implemented. That kind of theme comes to my mind. We're going to take a look at the full moon in Sagittarius early this week as well. So there'll be a lot more to come on that dynamic. Of course, on the same day, Mercury will sextile Venus. I like that as a full moon ruled by benefic Jupiter. And then there's this sweet little sextile between Mercury and Venus. Feels like a nice, harmonious, clarifying kind of energy that's very constructive and could present some nice opportunities to get things done or to connect meaningfully with other people or to build momentum or to just feel a kind of wind at your back or a feeling of support around the full moon this week. I think that's great, especially because at the end of the week, things get really, really dynamic again. Mars squares Uranus. This is Sunday. That square we're going to talk about at length toward the end of the week. But it is an energizing, activating square that speaks to the revolutionary, action-oriented impulse, but sometimes also defiant, rebellious, and conflict-oriented energies that can be rather violent and erratic. So we do have to be a little thoughtful about how we approach and work with that energy, so to speak, over the weekend. But it is an energy that also often coincides with a surge in action-oriented, provocative, creative, kind of impulses that can lead us to break out of familiar structures or patterns for the sake of trying something new, taking some meaningful risks. So I really like that transit at the end of the week. It's happening right alongside of Jupiter square to Saturn, which we'll also spend time with later this week, which is really about paradigmatic change. We've had several Jupiter-Saturn squares over the past year. This is the final of their squares, and we're going to trace out that cycle and take a deep look at the interaction between an exalted Jupiter and a fallen Saturn. It's a fascinating interplay between those two planets. So that will be something we spend quite a bit of time on later in the week. The other thing to say about Jupiter and Saturn is anytime those two planets are coming together, we know that we're in the midst of structures and paradigms of all kinds in all different areas of life, usually especially rooted in the whole sign houses, in this case of Aries and Cancer in your birth chart, going through systematic change. The systematic change happens when our paradigms are changing, our beliefs are changing, our understanding of our life purpose and direction is evolving. And it's evolving because we've reached the limits of something, a former way of life, a former way of thinking. And now we're ready to revise and implement new structures rooted in new understandings. That is the hallmark of a Jupiter-Saturn dynamic, but we're going to be unpacking the specifics given Jupiter in Cancer and Saturn in Aries, because the last time we had these squares, of course, it was Gemini and Pisces. So some new ways of considering that square as the week goes on. All right. As promised, I'm going to do a little bit of work now for the cardinal signs. Let's take a look at Jupiter's entrance into the sign of Cancer. I'm going to eliminate everything from our perspective except for Jupiter. That way we can isolate Jupiter in the house that you will be receiving Jupiter in this week if you are a cardinal sign. Now, the reason I do this is just to, at the beginning of the week, whoever's getting the biggest transit of the week in an angular house by whole sign horoscope, that's the one I might feature at the beginning of the week. So for Aries, Jupiter in Cancer entering your fourth house this week. If you listen for your sun or rising sign, either way, Jupiter's entrance into Cancer, an angular house, the fourth house, the place of home, family. It doesn't get more sort of quintessentially family, home, and domestic than when Jupiter in Cancer enters that house. So you look for the sense of change that's coming, maybe between, also with Saturn in your first house, right? Between the sense of identity and the connection to your living space, your home environment, your family environment. The interplay between self, identity, home, and family is epic for Aries this week. And as the whole next year unfolds, really. But watch for the theme of growth and fertility and kind of a growing, what can grow in that place of home and family, private sphere of life that can be really beneficial for you. Think about that as Jupiter enters your first or your fourth house. Now for Cancers, it's your first house. This makes you, in a sense, the midwife for the creative energy of Jupiter in Cancer. How is this affecting your body? How is it affecting your identity, your health? Jupiter in Cancer may put you into positions of being some kind of leader. It may put you into the position of being the midwife for something very creative in your life. I know I'll see many women in the next year for whom Jupiter in Cancer in the first house will literally mean becoming a mother. But Jupiter in Cancer in the first, a very fertile placement connected to identity, body, health, the role you play in the world, and the way you yourself become a channel for the wisdom of the goddess. All of that comes to my mind for Cancers. It gets very personal, the way that Jupiter is going to want to work its way into your sense of who you are and what you're here to do as an evolving character in a story. So we move along to Libras, where we see Jupiter entering your 10th house. This is the place of career, vocation. This is the place of your public reputation, your role in the world, the building and developing of things like money, wealth, some level of notoriety or mastery. Jupiter in this house can be very fertile in terms of the opportunities it presents for growth, for professional growth, for development of your skills and abilities, for recognition of those skills in the world. Very fertile placement for Jupiter in your career house. If you're retired, this is also saying there's going to be some fertile new spaces of creativity flourishing in the way you connect to the world kind of outside of the private sphere, out in the civic social arena that is usually still a part of our life, even if we aren't working any longer. So consider that. If we go forward to Capricorn, we're looking at Jupiter in the 7th house. An opportunity over the next year for Jupiter to wear down rough edges with respect to the relational dimension of life. Capricorn's very duty-bound, rugged, persevering, practical, resourceful, hardworking, and I think like solid. Like a good way of talking about earthy Capricorn rising folk is just solid. Jupiter in Cancer in the 7th is going to invite you to soften and deepen your emotional connections and form healthy bonds or attachments to other people. I don't have to do this alone. I carry the weight of life emotionally with other people, nurturing and fostering intimacy and relationships. What's growing and what is fertile in the realm of your interpersonal dynamics in life. How are you finding intimacy, pleasure, and connection with other human beings? Very important there. Jupiter in Cancer can also in the 7th house indicate that the people you're in relationships with are going through periods of great growth and that they're sort of carrying that fertile energy, but it'll still appear in your life through them somehow. So those are just a few things to keep in mind. All right, as promised, what's on the altar this week? I want to show you briefly what is on my altar, and let's just take a look at that. So here you can see, here's my altar. Started this altar practice on Mondays to give you some ideas about how you can incorporate altar practice into your work with astrology. It is my goal that this channel be a place that you can consider a part of your daily spiritual practice. And so for those who are interested or resonate with this, build your own altar. It's fun. Put the sacred items and totems that mean a lot to you on there that maybe represent different facets or faces of the divine. For me, you can kind of see the collection that I have going. There's a lot of different things going on. I've explained in the past, but every week I offer something, and that's the practice right now. And then I share that with you guys so you can use that as a template for your own altar, or you can use it to creatively riff off from. You'll see there's kind of a little pitcher sitting at the front of my altar in front of the candles. That is a pitcher of water. And the reason that I've chosen water, first of all, water, flowers, fruit, candles, incense, these are some of the most traditional things you can offer on an altar. So don't make it too complicated if you don't want to. You can just do water, flowers, a little bit of fruit, and candles or incense. These are all great things to offer daily or, at the beginning of the week, however regularly you want to do it. I'm offering water because I drink a lot of water. I drink probably a gallon a day at least. And that's, part of, I have to hydrate really well because I also do cardio every day and my workouts every day and stuff like that. So maybe I drink more water than most people or whatever. But the reason I offer water is because it's something that I can connect with every single day. When I drink water, I can take a moment to remember that this is sacred, that this is life, that this nourishes my body. and it can connect me to the divine, and I can say thank you. And then in a simple way, what I'm doing, my intention behind this is to offer things that effectively can keep my connection to the divine awake and in my awareness. I drink water all the time. When water's on my altar, I stand a slightly better chance to remember the divine every time I drink water. So I'm asking my altar, please help me stay aware of my connection to you, beautiful universe, every time I drink water this week. So simple things you can do like that, but be creative, have fun with it. Having an altar practice is really just about maintaining intimacy with experience and with life itself, with the cosmos itself, which lives in us as much as it is outside of us, right? Anyway, I hope that that's useful for you and that this breakdown has been useful. Stick around after I sign off. There's an informational video about the upcoming Year 1 program. It begins June 22nd. Need-based tuition is available if you need it. There's just a couple weeks left, so be sure that you register now. Huge week of astrology to come. I can't wait to break it down with all of you guys. I hope you're having a great day, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around. I'm excited to tell you about our upcoming program, Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic. It is our first-year course in Hellenistic astrology that begins at the end of June. June 22nd is our starting date. I'm going to take you over to the course page to tell you more about the program and what you will learn while you are in it. So here we go over to the Nightlight Astrology website. You can find this at nightlightastrology.com. Click on the courses tab, go to the first year course. Now this program is ideal for people who maybe have a little bit of background already in astrology. Maybe you've done some studying on your own independently, taken some courses or webinars and workshops, but you're looking to deepen your understanding of astrology. And maybe Hellenistic astrology in particular has been calling to you. I'll tell you more about what Hellenistic astrology is in a minute, but on the first year course page, you're going to find everything that the course includes. I want to make the structure of the course clear first, and then at the end, I'm going to tell you 5 reasons that I think anyone might have for studying astrology, and you can see if you check any of those boxes. First of all, there are 30 classes on the year. It's just a little under a year-long program with 30 webinars. Every webinar is 2 to 3 hours long, including a lively Q&A and conversational section after we finished our lesson for the day. Each of those lessons I lead personally through live webinars, so you can attend those live. If you want to follow along at your own pace in your own time, on your own schedule, you can always look at the recordings and take those in. And I'm going to show you what the class page looks like so you can see how you can interact with the course as uniquely and creatively as you want to. But you can either attend the live webinars or listen to the recordings or audio or video. In between major units of study within those 30 classes, we have separate classes outside of the 30 classes that are essentially tutoring sessions led by our staff, our course directors. We have 3 of them for our first year program, 3 tutors that help me guide every single class you're in and lead study sessions, and are also staffing an interactive group forum discussion where you can ask questions, look at charts, practice what you're learning with all of your classmates and with tutors there to help you. They'll always answer questions within a business day. So it's a really well-staffed, well-structured program. In between those major units of study and the breakout sessions, we also have guest speakers that come in throughout the year that you get free access to. The recordings are archived for you in your class folders. So you're getting people within our curriculum. And you're also getting to visit with some astrologers who are outside of the Nightlight School, but we really admire their work, and so we bring them in. You also have a ton of bonus material with every lesson. We have recommended quizzes, study guides, optional reading. And that allows people who are really, really, intense, deep, like studious types to go as far as you want to with the material, while other people who are maybe, content to take things in at, just kind of taking in the classes, that's there for you too. So you can kind of go as deeply as you want to. The class, as the year goes on, goes through major units of study in ancient Hellenistic astrology. So if you're not familiar with ancient Hellenistic astrology, this is the earliest form of horoscopic astrology. This is where the astrology that you've probably learned today comes from originally. And that makes some of its features unique. Like, for example, ancient astrologers utilized whole sign houses. We study why they used whole sign houses, how they used them, and we study the why behind really everything: houses, signs, planets, aspects, dignities, essential and accidental dignities, delineation approaches. How do you read and predict within a natal chart? All of those theoretical areas of astrology, we not only learn how to do, but we learn the why behind it. And this is what I think people find most empowering about the course, is that ancient astrology really helps to give you the rationale for everything so that you have the insight available to go off script. What I mean by that is, like, let's say you're learning about a sign, Aries or Taurus or a Gemini, something like that. Ancient astrology won't just give you a list of the adjectives or keywords or descriptions of, say, a sign or a planet. It will give you an underlying philosophical explanation that then allows you to extrapolate from it the kinds of lists that you read in textbooks, which means you'll have an understanding of why everything on a list in a textbook is there in the first place. And you'll also have the insight and creativity available to add things to the list that are a part of your own unique intuition and contribution to astrology. And this is what ancient astrologers wanted students of astrology to learn: the why behind everything. So this is a class where, even though you're seeing things like planet signs, houses, dignities, aspects, and you're like, oh, I've already learned about those things. Not if you haven't studied Hellenistic astrology. I don't mean to sound condescending, but like, truly, most people's experience coming through this program is, wow, I had no idea all that I didn't know about the roots of everything that I've understood thus far about astrology. So it really is about digging into the philosophical core of why we do everything. And then you have greater intuitive and creative capacity as an astrological craftsman or craftswoman. So anyway, that's a brief explanation of why I think Hellenistic astrology is important. Not to mention that ancient astrology was really focused on our ability to accurately describe and predict things in the realm of karma, fate, and destiny, whereas modern astrology's hallmark and strength is psychological depth. And so when you put the two together in our program, which is why it's called Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic, I think you have something really special. So on that note, you can see everything that we cover here. So there's a video with some of our alumni you can watch. Everything is there on the page. Now, there are 5 reasons that I want to touch on briefly before I tell you about your payment options and need-based tuition. These are 5 reasons to study astrology that if you mark any of these boxes, especially if you mark several of them, then I think it's a good indication that you might be ideal for this program, might be an ideal fit. So the first one is, if you find that astrology has become a part of your daily, weekly, monthly, yearly spiritual practice, it is a part of how you lead an inner life, then there is nothing more empowering than deepening your connection to that language, because that puts you more in the driver's seat. It's always good to have astrologers that you rely on, teachers that you listen to, get a little objective perspective, especially when you're looking at your own chart through a reading. But there's really nothing more empowering than learning to speak the language at a deeper level for yourself. And if that calls to you, if you want to understand things and be able to speak more confidently and clearly about this sacred language that you love, and this is a great reason to take a structured program. Number 2 is that you feel called to read charts for people. Look, not everyone who takes our programs is on a professional track, but we have 4 years worth of professional training programs at Nightlight that will prepare you to read professionally for others if that's the path that you're on. Maybe you don't even know if you're on that path. That's fine too. Many people take our programs just for the sake of their own personal enrichment, and again, to be kind of more in the driver's seat with respect to your astrological journey. You have more of an understanding. You can be more confident in reading symbols and experiencing transits with your own understanding that you've cultivated. But sometimes people want to read for other people. This will definitely set you up to do that. We have a certification track where you can take exams at the end of every year. They're optional. You don't have to if you're not on that level of interest. Number 3, you have done a lot of self-study. You've heard things from here and there, but you're looking to bring it all together. It is overwhelming to study astrology on your own. So if you want organization, structure, and coherence, what you're getting in this program is going on 15 years of training astrologers, 15 years of developing curriculum that has in mind the overwhelm that many people experience. And this program is structured year 1, year 2, year 3, however far you want to go with our curriculum, to give you an organized, structured, coherent way of understanding the history and language of astrology from both ancient times to modern times in all of the vastness that the field includes. And also, as we go, we want to give you the confidence that you are a part now of an astrological lineage. Astrology has always been practitioner based. Coming through Nightlight, you are going to have the opportunity to feel aligned with a lineage. If you like my work, if you feel aligned with the way I speak the language, then this might be a good reason to come study with us. Now, if you're seeking the why behind things, if you're like, yeah, that's interesting, I get it, I understand, but why? Why signs? What's the difference between a sign and a house? Why do they ever come up with a sign and a house? What's the distinction philosophically? Why does Mars represent this? Why does Mars in this sign represent that? If you are someone who feels empowered by understanding the why behind things, you are going to love this program, because that's how I am as a teacher. That's how I am as a person. And that's what this program is really all about. Number 5, you are looking for astrological community. Look, I think Nightlight is unique in terms of the kind of warmth, acceptance, safety, and inclusiveness that our community includes intellectually, spiritually. We are really pride ourselves on being a peaceful kind of family. I'm a Cancer, right? So it's kind of a family-oriented environment. So anyway, I will end it there. If you check any of those boxes, you may want to consider studying with us. Now, I'm going to take you over to 2 things. I want to show you the dashboard. So here is the Thinkific page. You're going to join this. And on your dashboard, you're going to find any courses that you've enrolled in at Nightlight. And there are many, so you may end up in being involved in multiple courses. And you'll find that they're all there on your dashboard. Click on one of them, and it will take you in. You're going to find that on the left-hand side, there's orientation instructions, course information, class links, and calendar, all the technical stuff you need to know when you join the course. And then you're going to find that there's, when you go through the lessons, that the lesson includes the video, the audio, the slides, the transcripts, the Q&A box text if you couldn't make it live and see what people were talking about, flashcards, homework, a bonus PDF with all sorts of additional recommended reading, bonus videos, additional video links for bonus material. So every single time that you want to visit something within the course, everything is nicely organized. So you can see here, I'm going to pause this before it starts going, but you can embed the video right there. It's embedded and you can watch it. And then if you wanted to, you could also, right here, you could also download the video and watch it on your own device. And that's same for the audio as well. And then as you go, you'll see all of the lessons are laid out. The study sessions are also recorded if you can't make those live. So everything is nicely arranged on the website for you. And that makes it a course that if you wanted to take 3 years to accomplish, you could take 3 years to accomplish. If you want to take it for the sake of getting certified, you have the full year plus an additional year to take the exam. So, 2 years total that we give people if you're on a professional track. But most people complete the program in a year. And a lot of people, over 50% of our students, go on to our year 2 and then our year 3 and horary programs as well. Now, final thing I'm going to show you is right here. You're going to find, here is the enrollment options at the bottom of the first year course page. Again, this is at nightlightastrology.com, and you're going to click on the first year course, go to the bottom. The early bird payment saves you several $100s off the cost of the course. That's available till May 15th. Early bird installment plan saves you on the installment plan, regular cost of the course. That's also only available until May 15th. And then need-based tuition. All of our programs include a need-based option where we give you a sliding scale and we say, you pick your monthly tuition number within this sliding scale, which is greatly reduced off the normal tuition price. That is for people who are on a fixed or limited income, receiving disabilities, single mom, whatever the case might be. We want to make sure that nobody's priced out of studying astrology. So you don't have to feel any shame. If that is you, if you need help, if you want to take this, but you need to make it work within a tight budget, we get it. Times are tough right now. We don't think people should be priced out of studying a sacred subject like astrology. So we've been offering need-based pricing for 15 years. Nightlight is a donation-based school. It started that way. We have a sliding scale, so it's kind of like donation. You get to choose your rate anyhow. So if that's something that will help you, please use it. Thank you for listening to this. I hope it gave you a really deep and comprehensive introduction to what the course is all about and why you might find it exciting to come study with us starting at the end of June. So any questions you have about the program as you're visiting the course, email us, info@nightlightastrology.com. We'll be glad to talk about anything that you have questions about. We are here and we have a wonderful staff of people at Nightlight who will be a part of your learning experience and are all glad to help you. All right, that's it. We'll see you again later. Bye.